Well, I think the State Bank has given some numbers on growth side which are a bit overstated, and generally they've given some numbers on inflation, which seems to be the trend at the moment. But I think that the the flood affected area of Pakistan has been kind of ignored in these numbers, to the sense that growth of 4% is really going to be a bit less than that. Most people think it's between 1 to 1.5%. And on the inflation side, we are not going to get much relief because we are still going through a process of adjustment of energy prices and food prices, which are kind of driven by government policies rather than the demand pull in the
Exactly.
economy.
So this is what I want to ask you, Dr. Salman Shah, that what purpose will this report serve? Because speaking of inflation that you just pointed out, the Prime Minister, when the floods hit, himself very clearly said that inflation is expected to be around the tune of 19 to 20% in the wake of the floods. Now, this report is putting that figure to around 14.5%. So how useful this report is going to be if these figures are not so correct, if I may call it so?
Well, I think it's the estimates of the State Bank, and this report is their quarterly report which they issue on the state of the economy. So I don't think that it is really leading to any major change in investment climate or confidence in the economy, because we are really in a very transitory phase as far as the economy is concerned, particularly with this impact of the floods. We have to almost change our entire budget, and the fiscal side is under a lot of pressure, and we would end up spending a lot more than what was envisaged in the budget. So I think from that perspective, the report highlights the problems which the government is facing in flood rehabilitation and control of government expenditures.
Right, and of course, in that sense, it speaks of and demands some reforms from the government. For example, controlling its expenditures on the fiscal side, and also, broadening the tax base, and that the tax system needs to be improved. That is what the international community has been pressing upon Pakistan for quite some time. Do you think, Dr. Shah, that the government will be able to bring about these corrections, these reforms that are highlighted, the need of which is highlighted in this report by the State Bank?
Well, I think the most important thing would be the revised GST, and that is something which we have committed to the IMF also, and it is also a reform which is an ongoing reform, because the GST has been in place for quite a few years, and we needed to take it up to the level of retail and retail outlets, and that is something for which the FBR has to put in the IT platforms which are not in place yet. But there's no denying the fact that this is something which the government will have to do. And the other area on the tax side is the agriculture income tax, and I think over there the provinces are really more to take action, and particularly Punjab and Sindh need to strengthen their machinery for collecting the agriculture income tax, and that is a potential tax which can really help the provincial governments in Punjab and Sindh.